Welcome into the Saints Insider. Today is Thursday, November the 1st, and new month, new leaf for the New Orleans Saints. 6-game losing streak in the rearview mirror, maybe. We'll preview Saints Panthers and find out if that's what we believe will happen here on today's episode. Anybody dress up for Halloween? Anybody?
Nope. No, I dressed up my kid, and that was it.
What did Ada go as?
An alligator.
Alligator, I get it.
Yeah. Last year she was a tomato. Rod Walker actually gave me a great inspiration for next year when she can be a Terminator.
Ooh. Next year she might be big enough to actually get into it.
Yeah. Right? She's really small right now, so she wore her costume for about 3 minutes, and then we had to ditch it. But it was good.
I had Doctor Strange, Wednesday Addams, and a Gatorade bottle in my household.
One of my wife's goddaughter dresses an IKEA lamp. It was pretty great. She had a lot of people complimenting on her costume.
Did it come with instructions? Is it
No. It was good though.
No, I wore a skeleton mask. They always bait me into wearing a mask, but that's about all I'll do. What about you?
No, I stayed at home and cooked a recipe that Luke cooked in training camp. It was delicious. Nice spaghetti sauce.
Okay.
So.
There we go. We all had a great Halloween.
Except Jeff.
Except for Jeff.
Jeff doesn't get to talk.
Yeah.
No, I'm out of this subject.
Not in the spirit. All right. Hey, Saints Insider is sponsored by Bank Plus. Their banking decisions are actually made here in New Orleans by local bankers who know the community and take the time to know you. From small business to big business, home loans to bank anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Let's take a break. We'll be back. We'll break down Saints Panthers right after this.
Nice bike.
Thanks. Can I get it back before Saturday?
That might be tough.
Whoa. Is it just you?
For now, let's take a look.
Hi, strawberry mango. Mm-hmm. Here you go. Thank you. I'll take another one.
There's no better place to parlay than Caesars Sportsbook. Parlay Builder gives you all the game day action from all across the league. Multiple games, legs, and props, all in one spot. It's so quick and easy, you can keep your focus on the games and your nachos. Or if you're focusing on one game, remember, you can place your same game parlays live during the action. Caesars Sportsbook, the only sportsbook app with Caesars rewards.
All right, the Saints on the road again this week. They travel to Charlotte to face the Carolina Panthers at noon on Sunday. Jeff, what do you think CBS did to convince Fox to give them this game?
I know. How many people do you think will be at the game? Think it'll be sold out?
Tickets sold or butts and seats?
Butts and seats.
Yeah, like 35,000.
Yeah.
Good game to bring all the boys and girls clubs in the area.
Are you going to bang the drum before the game? Did they invite you? Because no one wanted to do it.
Maybe Jake DeLone. He'll be there.
Yeah, there you go.
Usually there.
Yeah, it is on CBS. So if you happen to be looking for it, I know most places you can find it pretty easily anyway. But it's not a Fox game, surprisingly. The betting line is Saints -7. So the Panthers were 13-point underdogs in Denver last week or something like that by the time the game kicked off. So they're actually considered a better shot to win this game than they were last week in Denver. So that tells you the respect the Saints get, but nonetheless,
but they're still 7-point favorites as a team that's on a 6-game losing streak
on the road. They have found the one team in the NFL that people expect them to handle pretty easily. So that's kind of how we frame this. Derek Carr's back, obviously, but it's an odd position, Luke. You're right, like a 6-game losing streak, and yet you're a heavy favorite.
Yeah, this is like the something's got to give game. I think the Panthers are on a 5-game losing streak, right? So 5-game losing streak versus 6-game losing streak. Winner gets knocked down in the draft order a little bit.
Loser stays out of town.
Yeah.
They're both gone.
Who did the Panthers beat? Can't remember.
Raiders
on the road.
Good Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
They beat them pretty good too. Beat them by a couple touchdowns.
It's like the flukiest. I know we're getting off topic, but the Ravens have lost to the Raiders and the Browns.
I still have survivor scars, man.
Yeah. Sorry.
Ravens losing to the Raiders just never made any sense. Let's do our transaction segment, proudly sponsored by Associated Grocers. Join our team and help support the success of local independent retail grocers. Apply today for available positions at Associated Grocers. This is going to get us into an injury discussion, too. The Saints made a couple of minor moves. They signed Jordan Mims back to the practice squad. They also signed Trey Herndon, a defensive back. Don't know if he'll actually play, but it probably means, Matt, they're going to bring up Shamar Jean-Charles from the practice squad. They got defensive back injuries all over the place.
They do. I mean, Kool-Aid McKinstry missed practice with a hamstring yesterday. Alante Taylor is really their only normal starter that's fully healthy, but
Not only that, he's their only cornerback
right.
on the roster, on the active roster, who's healthy, or who didn't miss practice yesterday, unless you count Ugo Amadi as a slot corner.
Where he may have to play. I mean, we might see him on it.
We will see him.
We will definitely see him, but like we might see him as their starting slot corner, and they might have to elevate both Shamar Jean-Charles and Trey Herndon because they're in such a bad spot right now. If I mean, we're all assuming Lattimore's not going to play. I think you could safely assume Rico Payton's not going to play because he's got a back injury. It's kept him out of practice.
Paulson Adebo's leg is
in a cast.
Yeah. And if Kool-Aid McKinstry misses this, I mean, they're really in a bind at defensive back.
It's a good team to be in a bind against.
I was going to say, it's a good thing the Panthers have no receivers.
They have Xavier Leggett, or how do you pronounce his name?
Leggett.
Leggett.
Which, by the way, we had tossed around the video of him talking about how picky he is, and somebody was asking him, the Panthers go to Germany next week, what foods he'll eat in Germany. It's like must watch. You got to find it.
I'm allergic.
Might need a translator.
We had Rod Walker,
I had to ask Rod what the hell he was saying.
Our southern accent translator.
Well, do they have some receiver injuries too?
They're getting Adam Thielen back.
Well, they traded Deontay Johnson.
They traded Deontay Johnson, but they are getting Adam Thielen back.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know who else is on their receiving core.
They've got some young guy.
Had a guy,
Jonathan Mingo still there.
Coker.
No, Jonathan Brooks, the running back, is coming back, and then
Jonathan Mingo. He was like their second round pick a year ago.
They had Jalen. I'm blanking on his last name.
Coker, I think.
Yes,
Croker or something.
He had a big game last week, 6 catches, 78 yards.
It's like an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, so they have some guys. The bigger question for me, and we're getting ahead of ourselves because we, kind of go through Saints have the ball, Panthers have the ball. The bigger question is Bryce Young. Like, the Saints have just owned that guy in three meetings.
Well, everybody has. That's the thing.
That's true.
But I mean, it is a concern for me. I mean, the secondary is the strength of this team. Even without one of their starters, I think it's still a strength. But like now you're talking about 2 of their starters out, plus like their primary backup, plus their primary backup to the backup. I mean, they're in a pretty bad spot. Obviously, we're going to wait and see what happens with Kool-Aid McKinstry. But like, if he can't go, that's pretty rough. It's not what you want to see.
And these hamstring injuries are
crazy,
really disconcerting. I mean, they didn't really have that many last year, but this year it feels like it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
But it's like the injury bug is kind of cycling through the whole roster. I mean, they've had a cluster injury at just about every position except for maybe defensive line,
running back.
Yeah, and running back.
Kamara's played through injuries, but
true.
On the D-line, Colin Saunders and Peyton Turner have missed time.
So, everybody has some people miss time, but I mean, it's been like a position group has been just hit really hard. Pretty much every position on the roster, except for running back and D-line here or there, they've had some injuries. But it's causing some problems. They're having to cycle through. I do wonder, to your point, Jeff, like this is a good team to be missing secondary pieces against. Next week you're playing Atlanta, which would be a really bad team to be missing secondary pieces against. If it's iffy on these guys, I think they give them an extra week. Even though you're riding a 6-game losing streak, you 100% need to win. You really need to win the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and I think you rest those guys.
Yeah, you go all in next week against Atlanta. Hope you get a win just anyway. I think that's what the players have all been saying. Like, you just need to get a win, and let's start there. So, and this is the worst team in the league, I think, by and large, right? I mean, everyone believes that Carolina's already. I mean, they've already in sell mode.
Yeah, they're ranked like bottom 5 in like everything. So
yeah, run defense is, I think, last in the league. So this is a team you can get right against.
Yeah. Hey, Saints fans, Associated Grocers is hiring. If you're looking to join a team dedicated to supporting independent retail grocers, apply today. Your future starts here. And our future will be a breakdown of Saints Panthers. We're going to take our second break first and be back right after this with a full breakdown. Okay, starting our Saints Panthers breakdown here on the Saints Insider. Hit the like button for us, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can also follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We appreciate that. Leave a comment. We'll have our predictions at the end of the show, but leave a comment with your prediction for this week. Maybe we'll put a YouTube poll up too. The Saints actually get off the schneid here. Starting when the Saints have the ball, the big news, of course, Derek Carr is back. He makes a significant difference for this team. Luke, I know you're kind of looking into it statistically. You can look at it statistically. You can look at it eye test. You can look at it vibes. I mean, he just makes a big difference. Yeah.
I think anybody who is still on the fence about whether it's worth having even a middle of the pack NFL starter at quarterback, I think they probably have seen the light now after these last 3 games. You tally it up, I think the 2 quarterbacks who played most of the snaps the last 3 games, Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener, combined for like a negative 58 EPA in 3 games. It's almost 60 points they took away.
20 points per game.
Expected points added, yeah. And Derek Carr through 5 games was plus 14. So that's like a huge disparity. And that's about like as close as you're going to get in pro football to like WAR, wins above replacement. That stat says a lot. It's huge. Like you look at the sack totals. Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener were sacked 16 times in 3 games. Derek Carr has been sacked 5 times in 3 games, or in 5 games. Passing touchdowns. Turnovers were not that big of an issue for the 2 quarterbacks, at least interceptions. But there were some plays that defenders could have made that didn't. So, I just think there's so many different things, and then you get into the vibes, and you get into okay, we have our guy back under center. We have our guy who like fully understands this offense. We can run the full spectrum of it instead of a lot of those rollouts they were calling where you're kind of cutting the field in half. And like I said last week, I still think Spencer Rattler is going to be a good player in the NFL. I still think you can see the potential there, but he's just clearly not ready, as Jeff alluded to this week in his column. So you're getting a guy who's an 11-year veteran who has like the skins in the wall. Maybe he's not the best quarterback in the NFL, but I think you've seen these last 3 weeks that having competent quarterback play can take you a long way.
Yeah, I think your point about vibes is what I think is the most important thing of all. Is there was times in these last few weeks when Rattler was out there, you almost felt like the team didn't have the confidence that just their body language. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, especially that Broncos game. It just felt like the team understood they were up against it with the injuries, especially at the quarterback position. Now you've got your guy back, like you said, a guy that can get you in and out of the right plays, avoid the negative plays. I think the confidence level of the whole team goes up now. I mean, what are we back to on offense now? Basically everyone but Shaheed and McCoy?
Yep.
Pretty much. Which are big losses, but and to that point, especially when they fell behind. You fell behind 10 points against the Broncos or Chargers or whatever. The defense was playing pretty hard. Once you're down 10, 14 points, it's like, hell.
Well, the best example in the Chargers game was, I think they had a couple 3rd and 15, 3rd and 14. They just ran there. They just gave up on 3rd down. They're not going to do that with Carr. They'll let him try to get that. But they were not going to let Rattler make a mistake in that situation. So the difference, that's just telling your team, every player on that team knows we're hamstrung right now, quarterback. So
now the other difference, obviously, Rashid Shaheed and Eric McCoy not being out. This is not the same offense we saw the first 2 weeks, Matt. It's also, do you expect Derek to be limited in any way? Do we think he's not going to be able to make a throw?
No, I think they've taken their time here with him, trying to get him back. He's kind of had that gradual ramp up that you would like to see, like that he was throwing last week, and they kind of eased him into it. I think gives him confidence he'll be ready to go. I think it was important for the Saints that the run game got going a little bit again last week. That was a positive sign. Even without Carr's return, just to get something going there was obviously a huge part of the first meeting between these teams. So kind of think they'll just rely on, Kamara and if I had to, I know I've been guessing Spencer Rattler's stat lines. I think Derek Carr is going to throw less than 20 times in this game, would be my guess.
I think if the Saints would like that. That means it's a game state they want.
Yeah, I mean, you're just basically following the script you followed in week 1, right?
Let's ignore that. Yeah.
But like,
Yes.
seriously, I mean, the Panthers have the NFL's worst run defense. You gashed them for 180 yards in week 1, and I think they had like almost a 2-to-1 run to pass ratio in that game. That's the ideal for this offense.
Yep.
Obviously, you don't have Eric McCoy now. Big part of the run offense, but like, if you can, you're going to give Alvin 17, 18 carries. You're going to give Taysom Hill 8, 9 touches. You're going to get Jamal Williams the ball, and you're not going to let Derek sit back there and throw the ball 30 times. I don't think that's what they want to do in any game, but like especially in this one.
They have no Derek Brown now. He's probably their best defensive lineman. I don't think probably he is. And if you remember that first game, they were so far ahead. We all talked about how they were able to put Taysom kind of on ice.
Yeah.
Because they didn't need him. I think he could have a big game on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know that you're not going to get the same level of blowout just because you can't expect that. But if things go well for the Saints, they control this game the whole way. Without Shaheed, is Valdez-Scantling like a one? I mean, he's not obviously 1-for-1 replacement for Shaheed, but is he the guy who fills that role, you think?
I think so. It's just a matter of who they have up versus down. Like Cedric Wilson returned to practice yesterday, so maybe it would still. The staff seems to still really like Mason Tipton, even though he hasn't been as productive as maybe that they want him to be. They still want to give him opportunities, but they did bring in Valdez-Scantling for a reason. So it's just a matter of, do they want experience at that spot, or do they want to keep trusting Tipton? Like, it's kind of the same skill set because Tipton is pretty fast. It's just Valdez-Scantling has the size.
Well, and I think we can also probably expect Bub Means to miss this game.
Yep.
So,
right, yeah.
Olave, Tipton,
Wilson,
Jermaine Jackson as returner. You probably have a 5th wide receiver active.
Yeah,
I would say
that's fair.
This is probably the week that MVS makes his debut and does some of the Shaheed things where he's running the vertical routes and keeping the defense honest back there.
Yeah, I think they're going to take a few shots, especially with Carr back. I think they feel more comfortable, obviously, with him. And he showed in those first games. And he throws a really nice deep ball. And you got to feel like at some point Tipton's going to make one of those plays. I mean, he's been close. You know, he's a rookie. I think it could be one of those things where if he makes one of those plays, gets a little confidence, then maybe because there's a reason, like Matt said, they keep going after him. They like him. He's got to do it in a game.
Derek Carr, I will say, he throws a nice deep ball. That might be, you need to get your rhythm back. You kind of need to get your timing back, and with the oblique where you're really torquing your body to throw that deep ball, that might be the last thing to come back. Not saying it's not going to be there, but that would be the one part I'd worry about. But if they're running the ball like they were in week 1, it sets up the play action. I mean, that's the plan. Yeah,
and does Carolina play to that defensively? Do they cheat the line, challenge him to throw it, to prove he can put it out there? I think it'll be interesting to see.
Yep. Okay, now when the Panthers have the ball, obviously Bryce Young starting again over Andy Dalton. Dalton sprained his thumb in the car accident a couple weeks ago, and that's the official reason. I wonder if this is last chance for Bryce Young. Hey, let's throw him back out there and just see one more time if he can be the guy, or if we do need to, go draft another quarterback.
I mean, maybe.
Are you saying Dave Canales is driving the other car? What are you?
Look,
Wow.
I mean,
the allegation.
that is a possibility, But they've also got. I mean, they've got 19 games of him as a starter or something like that. 20.
Not a small sample size.
Yeah, it's big enough to see what he can do and what he can do well and what he can't. And the situation might be so bad there that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many opportunities he's going to get. It's not good. I mean, I don't think Andy Dalton's performed at a super high level either, and we saw him play pretty well here the last time he was a starter. So, I don't know. It could be that situation, but I do think that it does make sense if a guy got in a car accident, you're resting him for 2 games afterwards.
Yeah, sure. So we had this discussion a little bit earlier. The Panthers are low on weapons, obviously. I think they do get Thielen back. I have to check. He's at least limited in practice this week, so he's probably their top guy. They have Xavier Legette and
who's the tight end?
I'm going to miss his name again. Jalen
Coker.
Jalen Coker, that's right. who's one of their kind of breakout guys. But against this Saints secondary, the other thing they did was they blitzed a lot in that first game. Remember, Alontae Taylor had the 3 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Do we expect to see more heat from the Saints and kind of speed Bryce up, especially with the secondary problems?
I mean, I think so. I don't see why you wouldn't. And Carolina's offensive line has actually weirdly been decent in pass protection. I think a lot of the problems that they had with Bryce in particular was not recognizing where blitzes were coming from. A lot of that fell on him those first few games before he got benched. So I would totally anticipate the Saints to kind of try to follow a similar defensive script to what they followed in Week 1. When I think they had 4 sacks total in that game. They were also pressuring him on just about every play.
I think the Panthers, too, are going to probably attack this differently than they did the first meeting. Like, their run game has been okay. Chuba Hubbard's having a nice season.
Look at Jonathan Brooks back, the rookie.
Mm-hmm. And,
potentially, they haven't fully activated him yet.
Okay.
Yeah, this is their last week to activate him. If they don't, he's on IR for the rest of the season.
But, you think back to that first game, Bryce Young threw an interception on the first throw and the first drive. That'll be a run this time around. I think.
Right.
Just hand it off.
I remember the scars of that. And I tell you what, I don't know if this was just game plan related in the Chargers game or it's a sign of things to come, but the Saints played a lot more just 3 down linemen against the Chargers defensively and used the linebackers blitzing more. And I think that might be in response to the lack of pass rush, trying to get a little more creative there. I don't know if that was just for the Chargers game or that's something they're seeing. We didn't see as much Cam Jordan on the field in passing situations. So they may be trying to gin up a little more pressure. So I could see that, especially like Luke said, the problems Carolina had was just identifying. The Saints fooled them so many times. I would imagine they're going to try and test that again. And I remember Ty Matthews saying the game plan against Bryce Young is always keep him in the pocket, make him beat you from the pocket. So we'll see if they follow through with that.
Yeah, the Panthers have been in a negative game state so much this year where you look. Now, I think they did score first in Denver last week, if I recall correctly. They had a 7-0 lead in that game. So that was a little bit different. But even then, they're down 14-7 by the end of the first quarter. I mean, they have been chasing the game, and that's the position you need to put them in.
Yeah, especially if you're the Saints run defense, which last week's game was a little bit better, but they've still been pretty bad this year. That's the one thing Carolina can do okay is run the football. So, they need to be on their A game with that this week. Otherwise, they're going to be in a dogfight against a bad football team.
Yeah. Moving on to special teams, Blake Grupe misses his first field goal last week. I guess he wasn't going to go perfect all year long. But I kind of wanted to go a different direction with this, Jeff, because he's your guy. Thomas Morstead of the Jets. The Saints have been in punter wilderness ever since they let him go. And the guy's still Pro Bowl level punter, as we saw last night.
I know. He had a great game against, who they played? The
Texans. Yes.
Yeah. And his performance was tailing off with the Saints. And I think that led a little bit to the decision. But if you talk to him, he said he was having back issues and that really hurt his performance. And I'm sure the Saints had to know that. But they obviously haven't replaced him with anybody of his level. And I think more than anything, his leadership was key to that locker room. He was the head of the the representative for the NFLPA. They're just kind of average in punting right now.
Hayball had a pretty good game last week.
Yeah, best game I think. Right?
He's definitely got a big leg that's
he may
undeniable.
On the list of the Saints' problems, it's pretty low down.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to note though, Darren Rizzi made an interesting point yesterday. He was talking about Carolina's return game. Their punt returner Blackshear, right? Yeah. He's only had 1 fair catch on a punt this year. So he's a really aggressive guy. And I think the Saints, Darren Rizzi in particular, I think is just a really smart defensive coordinator. He looks for advantages. I think he could maybe look at that as a potential advantage where he's okay, we've got a really aggressive guy. Let's try to put him in situations where he has to fair catch a ball. And if he doesn't, then we can take advantage of that.
What's the state of the Saints' return game without Rashid Shaheed? What do we think they're... Have they settled on Jermaine Jackson as the guy?
I think so. I think they see something in him there. Like, if you remember, they cut him after he got hurt in training camp, and he was still an undrafted guy. But for them to bring him back, I think speaks volumes about kind of their interest in what they think he can be. Obviously, it was electric in college, but yeah, he hasn't really shown it that much. But I think they're just intrigued by like the potential there.
He's had like a couple nice returns, but he's also had like a couple head scratchers.
Shaky.
This is another thing that Rizzy was talking about yesterday. Is just kind of like understanding where you are in the field, and there was a couple that he fielded that they'd rather him not. If he's like going over his shoulder, try to catch a ball at like the 5-yard line, like Shaheed did when he fumbled the ball against Atlanta, that's not something you want him to do. And there's been others where he's like fair caught a ball that was returnable. They don't want him to do that, but they are really confident in like the work he's putting in. It's like what they keep saying is like this guy caught 500 jugs balls like in a short week against before Denver, before he made his debut. And they like the potential there. But like he's playing in this will be his 3rd NFL game, so he's got some learning to do, I think.
Man, he's tiny too, man.
He is very small.
He might be the smallest guy on the team.
He might be the smallest guy in the NFL, honestly.
Smaller than Blake
you.
Groupie?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Is he?
he's
Wow.
very,
Yeah, I think
he's
I
very,
tower
very
over
small.
him.
It's almost comical watching him like play
In the
with the
huddle.
rest of the rest of the guys.
He's not a
You
get
see
off
him
the
like
bus guy.
standing next to Trevor Penning in the huddle. It's kind of hilarious.
And that follows kind of the Saints' MO. They've always kind of got these fast, speedy, undrafted free agent return men.
Yeah.
It goes back to Michael Lewis, Deontay Hardy.
Even Shaheed,
Yeah.
Shaheed's not a big guy. He's probably generously listed as 6 feet. Probably generously listed as like 180 pounds. He's not a big guy, but Jackson might be the smallest out of all of them.
Yeah,
He's
but
tiny.
It's what they like to do. They don't want to invest money in a return guy. So you try and find somebody. I think they're pretty good at identifying those guys too in the
Obviously,
process.
Shaheed being example number one. Okay, keys to the game as the Saints try to snap this 6-game losing streak. They have the right opponent to do it. They are on the road. And by the way, a lot of the stuff we talked about, you can read more about on NOLA.com/Saints. We've written a lot of stuff about this game, and I know, look, it's not exactly a marquee matchup, but for the Saints, it's do or die at this point. So, Matt, what's your key to the game?
I think just for the Saints run game to continue to show progress, that was such a key to the first matchup. I think it allows Derek Carr to do I think they can look explosive again as long as the run game stays where it's at, and this is the right opponent to do that.
All right, Luke?
I need to see the defense not regress.
Yeah.
They played so poorly for a number of weeks in a row, and they finally kind of showed a little bit of signs of life last week. There's still too many explosives. I think it was probably something like 30-40% of the Chargers' total offensive output came on 4 plays. 38-yard run, a 60-yard touchdown pass, a 40-yard pass, a 24-yard pass. That's too much.
They've
4
allowed
plays.
6 plays of 50 yards or more, which is a league high.
But I think you can't just like wipe those plays away like they didn't happen. But I do think down to down, play to play, they were much more
Success rate.
sound last week. They were making stronger tackles. They were putting pressure on the quarterback. They were there in coverage for the most part. So like, don't let that like little building block crumble against a really bad offense. And I think for that to happen, like they're going to have to be really stout against the run. If they could force Carolina to put the ball in Bryce Young's hands, I think that we'll see them kind of continue to get back on this upward trajectory there defensively.
Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with both those. Those are both great points. I mean, I'll just go in a little bit of another direction. I just want to see enthusiasm, energy. I want to see them bring it. I'm big into that, like kind of body language. I thought they had that against the Chargers. They actually, the defense especially, you could tell. I think they've been challenged during the week. We've heard about the potential of a team meeting this week. I don't know if it happened or not, but we're hearing a lot about the players saying the locker room's still in good stead right now. They're not worried about the locker room. I know DA met with the team captains, and Derek Carr said he was kind of fishing to see if there was a problem. I want to see that transfer to the field and this team play with energy and effort, because that's the only way I think they can lose, is if they come out flat against a bad opponent and give them a little confidence, a sign of life early on. You bury them early, I don't see how they can rally. And that comes, I think, with just sheer effort and energy.
This is an important week for Dennis Allen, beyond the obvious reasons. I was looking this up yesterday. So you can survive like a 6-game losing streak, but the only coach in the last, since 2007, to have gained a 4th season with a losing streak longer than 6 games, so like 7, 8, it was Mike Nolan in San Francisco.
Yep.
And Nolan hadn't made the playoffs in any of his first 3 years and got a 4th season somehow. So Dennis Allen would join him if they lose like at least 7 games, they don't make the playoffs, and he's retained. It'd be him and Mike Nolan.
Well, if Dennis Allen starts dressing in a suit on the sidelines, we know who his
Whose idol is.
his inspiration is.
And Dick Nolan, Mike Nolan's father, was the last coach the Saints fired in season in 1980.
Full circle moment.
Yeah.
Full circle moment. There are general managers and owners around the league who, given the same situation the Saints are in, if they lost to the Panthers, Dennis Allen be gone on Monday. Is there any chance of that happening if the Saints lose this game?
Tell me the score, I guess, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ruling it out. I know we keep talking about how this organization doesn't make moves like that, and I think that's why I'm leaning toward no. But like, I'm not saying it's like 100% possibility that he's going to be back no matter what. He's going to be back next week no matter what. If they lose their 7th straight to a 1-7 team,
the writing's on the wall for the end of the season, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
The playoffs are out of the picture. I mean, there's nothing left. But I'm talking about, like, does he survive Monday?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think if they lose this game, I'm not willing to totally say that they wouldn't make the move.
I think it would come down to what Luke's saying is how they lose. Like if it's clear the team's given up, or they don't play with any effort and he's lost the team, then I think that would lead them to maybe make a move that they normally wouldn't make.
Are you saying that you have to look beyond the result?
I didn't say that.
That's kind of what you said.
No, they just don't. They don't do this. I mean, they haven't done it historically. It would have to take something really unprecedented. And I don't sense this team yet is giving up. We're still halfway through the season.
No, and if that's the case, they should win the game. So let's get into our predictions here. You can leave your pick in the comments, as I said. On the YouTube channel is the best place to do that. Subscribe to the Saints on NOLA.com YouTube channel if you haven't already. So Rod Walker is not here. He went with a very low-scoring game. Saints manage the game. Saints win the game 17-9.
Okay.
Which
I can
seems
totally see that
well
happen.
within the realm of
That's a
possibility.
snoozer.
Yeah.
Snooze fest.
Well within the realm of possibility.
We're talking about 3-13 is that the combined record for this game?
All right. Matt Paris, what you got?
Did I put 24 or 21?
24.
24.
Yeah, so I have 24-3. I was this close to picking a shutout, and then I just couldn't do it. So I gave the Panthers a field goal, but I kind of do secretly like the shutout for them because Panthers are terrible, man.
Can you bet that?
Oh, yeah.
Zach, can you
Oh,
bet
yeah.
a set?
You can
It
bet
has
a
to be
shutout.
high odds, right?
Sure.
I don't bet, but
I know, I'm
Probably
just saying.
10 to 1 or more.
I didn't
yeah.
know that was available to make a bet.
You can find anything in the NFL, man. I am actually going with a higher scoring game. I just don't trust the Saints defense. I think maybe there's some garbage time points in there. I got 31-19. I think Derek Carr gets the offense uncorked. I think you see some big plays in the running game. 31-19.
I went a little bit closer than you guys did. I guess even a little bit closer than same margin as Rod. I picked the Saints 21-13. I think it's going to look a little out of sorts with Derek Carr making his first start in 4 weeks. I'm still not 100% comfortable in this defense, even though they played better last week. They've still given up 26 plus in 4 straight games, maybe 5.
sounds right.
5 straight games. So I think it's going to be one of those kind of uncomfortably close games for a while until they kind of figure it out at the end. Kind of like a lot of the games they've played in Carolina recently, actually, where Carolina's been a bad football team for a long time. I just figured this out yesterday. I've been covering the NFL. This is my 7th year in the NFL, and they haven't had a single winning record the entire time I've covered the NFL. But at the same time, they always seem to play the Saints tough in Carolina. Even last year when they were really, really bad, the Saints kind of needed to kind of hold on to
Get
it
an
at the
onside
end.
kick at the end.
So it's kind of that's the vibes I'm feeling.
Who's your pick to recover the onside kick at the end to seal the game?
It's Taysom Hill.
Juwan Johnson.
It's Taysom Hill. He's always my pick.
Always. Jeff?
I'm going to pick the Saints again this week. Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed you didn't go 17-16 for the third straight week.
No, I actually think they might blow them out. I almost went kind of like an offensive eruption into the 30s. I think that could happen. With Carr back, this team needs some good vibes. I could see them running up the score like Sean Payton did on the Panthers, throwing a trick play here or there. Maybe. I mean, they tried something last week, that trick play with Taysom Hill throwing back across the field.
That was like one of the weirdest trick plays I've ever seen. I
It
think
was
they should
there,
just.
though. Like, the blocking was just a little
one
lower.
guy was the only thing that stopped it, really.
Yeah, but it was. Nah, there's
a
way
weird
too much.
play. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a throwback to like another throwback, except the throwback was like to a yard past the line of scrimmage. It was weird.
I think they need to do more of that with Taysom. Remember what was the playoff game a few years back where they threw one to Jameis and then he threw
Yeah,
the
it
ball?
was against the Bucks.
Yeah.
It was against the Bucks. He had like a 50-yard touchdown pass.
Right. I think that kind of play. I mean, take advantage of this guy who's can obviously throw it, and just I think they need to do a little more of that. I mean, I do think this would be another pod, but I would like to talk a little more about Kubiak because I do think no one's talking about him, and I do think he's getting a little bit of a honeymoon pass for some of the offense. Maybe he doesn't feel comfortable with being handcuffed by a rookie quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see if he opens it up again. Now that he's got Carr back. But I'd like to see him get a little more aggressive and creative. And maybe this is the game to do it.
Yeah, that is a good pod idea. Maybe we should do that in the next couple of weeks. Saints, by the way, after this, don't hit the road again for more than a month. December the 8th in
good
New
for you
York,
guys,
I think,
man.
is the last. Yeah, is the
Being
next
home for a little while.
The next road trip. So again, they're 2-6. They are what they are. But if you win this one, there's at least a sliver of hope.
Did you just pull out that they are what they are? DA pulled out
They
that
are who
it
we
is
thought
what it
they were.
is.
It is what it is.
And yet,
Certainly.
Look.
All right, that's going to wrap it for the Saints Insider Pod today. We will be back with a post-game show on Sunday after Saints Panthers. Check that out on the YouTube channel, Facebook pages, all that good stuff. And we will see you with the regular pod next Wednesday. For our producer, Norman Bell, he's Matthew Paris, Luke Johnson, and Jeff Duncan. I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for watching.